She has 1,000 clothing items that she wants to sell on eBay, but she has no reviews. So I don't know the complete backstory of how she got these clothings, whether they're her own wardrobe or she bought a closing down thrift store or something, or she's just been stocking stuff up the last couple of months. I'm not exactly sure how she has all these clothing items, but she has 1,000 clothing items that she wants to sell on eBay, but she has no reviews. She has a store that I'm just going to assume, I don't know the exact story, but I'm assuming that maybe she's never sold on eBay before, or maybe her store's fairly new. So she wants some advice for what to do. So I'm going to share with you kind of how to handle this. Say you have a lot of inventory, but your store is new and you have no reviews. And then I'm going to give you 6 steps to proceed forward to make sure that you can get through all of those eBay listings, get them sold, and make some cash. So I want to welcome everybody to the live stream right now. If you guys are watching live, drop a comment down below, say hello. Today's a great day. Be sure to smash that like button as well if you enjoy these eBay videos and responding to people's questions live. Really grateful to have you guys here. But let's get right into it. So she's got 1,000 items, clothing items. She's got a store that's fairly new and she has no reviews. So the first thing that you're going to have to keep in mind and take into consideration is you're going to have listing limitations and dollar amount limitations. So for example, the first month or two, well, at least the first month, you might only be able to list 5 items for a total of $300. And then they might raise that to 20 items, $1,000, and 50 items, $10,000. So you're going to have to get through those listing limitations. I'm not going to go through and explain all the ins and outs of that right now, but the first month or two, it's going to be a little slow. Best advice I could give you is just start listing as much as you can, provide good service, and call eBay on a regular basis to get your listings increased. So we got No Life in the House, Mike Rally, Steve, long time no see, ATL World, good to see you. The second thing is you have no reviews on your eBay store, so you don't have any feedback. This isn't going to kill you. As time progresses, you're going to slowly accumulate positive feedback. It's much easier to get feedback on eBay versus Amazon. So one tip I would give you is when you're starting to sell items, put a thank you sticker. You could buy them on eBay or Amazon. Just type in eBay thank you sticker. Hey, what's going on, girl? Good to see you, Gabriella. Get a thank you sticker and stick it on the outside of the package, or even handwrite a little thank you note, or just create something that you print out and slide in with every order. That's definitely going to increase your positive feedback. And Rally Roots, they just created a video about this. I think they said something along the lines of like 30 to 50% more increased. I don't know whether it was satisfaction or feedback when they did that, but definitely a good tip right there. So don't worry too much about the reviews. You're going to be okay with that. Over time, you're going to get past the listing limitations. So now that you understand those 2 basic things, the reviews and the listing limitations, let me give you 6 steps for what I would personally do if I had 1,000 clothing items with somewhat of a new store and I had to get them listed up. So the first thing that you're going to want to consider is, what should I even sell and what should I throw away or just donate back? Because when you're dealing with clothing, clothing's very time consuming. You've got to, inspect the clothing piece, which a lot of times you have to go through the whole entire item, the buttons, the sleeves, the inside of the item, under the armpits. You got to really investigate a piece of clothing. Sometimes it can be pilling, weird odors, stains. The list goes on and on. So clothing's time intensive. You've got to inspect it. You've got to photograph it. You've got to measure it. A lot of times you got to take multiple angles of pictures compared to like an electronic item or something like a video game. It takes a lot more time. So it's very time consuming with clothing. So you've got 1,000 clothing pieces. It's not going to be worth your time for the most part to sell $5, $6 clothing items. There's just some clothing that's very slow selling. And if it does sell, it doesn't sell for much money. So I would go through and start to research like the brands that you have, start looking on the sold listings to see what these items are selling for. And I would determine, what is my time worth? If you determine your time is worth $15 an hour, then it might be worth for you to sell $10, $12 items, right? But if you're working a full-time job and I don't know, maybe you've got some other side hustles and you're valuing your time at 30, 40 bucks an hour. You know, for me personally, my time right now is well over $100 an hour based on, you know, my lifestyle and how much time I spend in my business and my income. So for me, I would really be looking to sell only $40, $50 items personally. And that's what I do right now on eBay and Amazon and different things like that. So it just depends on your situation, right? But you've got to figure out what your time is worth. You've got to go through these 1,000 clothing items and figure out what the heck, what do I not want to sell? And just put that aside. What's the hot, what are the, you know, the best items, and put that to the side. Start listing that first. Another thing to consider before you start trashing some of the lower end items is you might want to look into lotting up some of the lower end stuff. So for example, you might have, hey, good to see you, Texas Scout Treasures. You might have one clothing item that this brand or this specific type of item is selling for $6 or $7, but if you lot 10 of them together, you can get $35. That might be worth your time instead of, you know, just throwing it away. So what items do I want to sell individually, and what items do I want to sell in a lot? So once you look up the values, determine if you're going to lot items, the next step that I would highly recommend is creating a daily listing goal. You got 1,000 items. Maybe you're down to 700 items now, or maybe you're gonna have like 500 listings because you've got a couple hundred that you're gonna lot together, some individually, some you're gonna get rid of. Say you're down to like 700 now. Let's create a game plan for getting these items listed up, because these items aren't gonna be making you any money sitting in your basement, sitting in your closet, or in boxes, wherever they are. So let's put together a game plan. If you're working a full-time job, you might want to stick with 5 to 10 items a day that you can list. That will take, you know, maybe about an hour or so, maybe 2 or 3 if you're new. But you can streamline the process to do probably about 10 items per hour, give or take, listing them up, especially if you're using your phone and you're streamlining it. Good to see you, Eric and Rocky. Good to have you here. So let's come up with a plan. If you can list 10 items a day, that's going to be, you know, around 250 to 300 items a month if you list every single day. If you want to get through that whole pile, and maybe you're not working a full-time job and you have some time, let's shoot for 20 items a day, 7 days a week, right? That's just like, that's going super hardcore. So that would be about 140 per week. That would be about 560 items a month right there. If you want to do it 5 times a week, you know, you're at 20, 40, 60, 100, 400 items a month right there. So you could probably blast through this pile in 2 months of hard work. But remember, you're listing a lot of items up, so you're going to start getting a lot of sales, considering that you know what you're doing. You're going through the sold listings. You're pricing it competitively. So one thing that you might also want to do it faster and to kind of be prepared for the rush of sales, because you're gonna have to be shipping items, storing items, we're gonna talk about that, is maybe you wanna hire some help. Now, who should I hire? What type of task should I outsource first? You know, what's gonna take you the most time is probably taking pictures at first. So maybe you wanna hire somebody to come in, and this is what I did, hire somebody to come in twice a week for, you know, 5-6 hours at a time. And what I used to do is I would put a whole pile of clothes together, and I used to have this little clothing rack, and I put all the clothes on it, and I would have them go through, and they would take pictures of all the items, and I created a listing template. So it was just a piece of paper, 8 and 11 piece of paper, and it was a template. So it would say the brand, it would say item description, measurements, item specifics, the color, the size, and they would go through and they would fill out this template, and then they would take a bunch of pictures, and we had a system in place, right? So you might want to hire somebody to take the photographs for you, because then you could work side by side with them, and when they're done taking photographs, you could go ahead and just list them. So you could be listing side by side with them if there's any questions or issues. You could bang things out really quick that way. So consider help with your pictures or your listings. The listing's a little more difficult because you really got to train them to, you know, learn how to value an item, so on and so forth. But definitely something right there. So that's number 4. Number 5, you've got to make sure you've got 1,000 items you're listing, 500 to 1,000, depending on what you threw away or what you're lotting together. But let's just say you got 1,000 items to list up. You need to make sure that you have an inventory management system. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can manage your inventory in terms of storing it and organizing it with clothing. Number 1 is the rack system. So buy some clothing racks. I'd recommend getting something like industrial clothing racks for $150 a pop. You go to Walmart and get the cheap ones, but I've had those mofos snap up on me, and it ain't fun. It makes a big mess. So you want to organize your inventory. The rack system, what I would do is just put some you know, some tape, some masking tape or scotch tape, whatever it is, onto the clothing hanger, and I would associate a letter and a number to it, and I would organize it in rows. And then on your listing template, just write the inventory number down so you can easily find it. So maybe you've got 4 tiers to your clothing rack. Maybe tier 1 is A through 50, tier 2 is B through 50, C through 50, D through 50. So you can put 200 items on this clothing rack, and when it sells, you've got it in your listing. There's like a little SKU area you can put in your listing, and then you can find, oh, B36 sold. So I go to, you know, tier B all the way down to 36, and you pick it off. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is the bin system. So you can actually mark your bins like A1, B1, C1, whatever, however you want to SKU it, and put your items in the bins. And when it sells, you know what bin it's in, and you kind of just find it. Maybe you polybag each clothing item and put a little sticker on the outside of it. So inventory system management is really important, because once you get over 100, 200 items, it's going to become an absolute nightmare to find your items. I remember when I was, you know, just getting started selling on eBay, and I think I had scaled to over like 200 items. I had everything. This was like 6 years ago. I was at my parents' house. So I was living in a little 150 square foot bedroom, and I had 200 clothing items in my closet, and I had no inventory system. And when something would sell, I would have to go through all 200 items to try to find it. And sometimes I couldn't find it. Other times I would ship out the wrong item because I would look for a Tommy Bahama, you know, Hawaiian theme, and then I would ship out the wrong one because it looked just like another one. So you've got to have that inventory system in line. And number 6, make sure you get your shipping station in line as well. You want to set up an area in your house or apartment where you do shipping. So I get those, like, I don't know, those like 8-foot tables, big plastic tables that fold up from Walmart. I usually set one of those up, put my printer on it, get one of those little plastic shelves, and that are like 7-8 feet high, and go to USPS.com and order a bunch of free shipping supplies. If you type in Raiken Profit USPS shipping, I've got a whole video that shares with you what boxes to get, what supplies to get. Selling clothing, you're going to want some poly bags, you're going to want some poly mailers, you're going to want some boxes for some jackets, some priorities. You're going to want some, what are those called? The little flat rate mailing plastic envelopes from USPS. So just watch that video. That'll definitely help you out a lot. But that's the advice I would give. Don't worry too much about the feedback. Don't worry too much about the listing limitations. Of course, the first 30 to 60 days is going to be a little slow. So get started now, because you're going to want to conquer those limitations and slowly build up your feedback. But again, the things you really want to focus on is, number 1, making sure you're not wasting your time listing a bunch of, you know, low priced items that are going to sell for $4 or $5. You're going to be wasting your time. Probably want to, and number 2 is you probably want to lot those items together if you can. So consider lotting a bunch of items since you have such a massive pile of items. So number 1, look up values. Number 2, consider lotting the items. Number 3, create a daily listing goal and stick to it. Don't say you're going to list 10 items Monday through Friday, and then Thursday comes and you don't feel like it and you don't list. You've got to build that habit. After about 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to become kind of like a ritual or routine. It's going to become a lot easier. When you're doing your listings, be listening to something in the background that's going to help you out, whether that's some Tony Robbins or some, you know, some thrift hauls from Rockstar Flipper or Rally Roots, or, you know, some of my clothing videos. Even check out some of my older Raiken Profit clothing videos from, you know, 2013, 14. A lot of those are still relevant. Definitely could motivate you and educate you. So be learning, be educating yourself as you're going through this listing. So you're not only making money listing items on eBay and selling it, but you're also investing in yourself. The number 1 asset that we all have is our brain, right? So be sure to be doing that. Number 4, after you create your daily listing goals, is consider help. Maybe you want to talk to a friend or a family member to help you take pictures, you know, maybe help you do some listings, or even help you with the measurements and stuff. Yeah, you're going to have to take a step back to hire somebody because you have to train them. And you're probably so new, you don't even know what you're doing at this point. So, you know, watch a bunch of videos and stuff. Every time you have an issue in the business, just look up a YouTube video. How do I ship? Okay, let's look up that. How do I, you know, measure a long sleeve dress shirt? Look it up, right? And go from there. Do you prefer your thrifting business model or drop shipping? I prefer, to be honest with you, I'm not huge into drop shipping. I do some drop shipping, but I love any business model that doesn't require me to have to physically work. I'm really big into. So there's a lot of people having success with drop shipping. Personally, I enjoy thrifting and selling on eBay much more. But in terms of like, if I had to come from like a business model, like make more money, scale, like have the lifestyle, like yeah, drop shipping is going to be much better. I do a lot of drop shipping on Shopify through Facebook ads, email marketing and stuff. So definitely love the drop shipping model, but I think eBay and thrifting is like a lot more fun. So after you consider help, make sure you create an inventory management system, or else you're going to lose your items and you're going to have to cancel orders. You're going to get negative feedback and it's just going to drive you crazy. You want to minimize the stress as much as you possibly can when you're trying to blast through a lot of listings. So having that management system in line is important. Staying organized is important. Having your daily listing goals is important, because the more you list, the more momentum you're going to build. And the more momentum you build, the more motivation you're going to have. And when you match momentum with motivation, I'm telling you, that's when great things start to happen in your business. And last but not least, get your shipping station created. It's very important. Have your shipping station, have your photography station, right? Have your laptop set up or your desktop where you go in and you do customer service, so on and so forth. And also, one thing I want to talk about is making sure you stay on point with your emails. You're going to be getting questions that are going to be coming in. You've got to take care of them every single day. Don't let them stockpile up. Go through, answer questions. People are going to want to know, like, hey, is this color really red? I can't really tell in the picture. Or, could you confirm the measurement from the, the pit to pit, the chest measurement, or, there's a million different questions people can ask. Make sure you're staying on top of your inbox. That's really important. It's not fun. I hate doing it, but it's just something you have to do. And also make sure that you're shipping on time and you're doing what you say you're going to do. So if you have 1 day shipping time, make sure you go through and you're shipping every single day. That's another habit you're going to have to get into. You might have to wake up an extra 30 to 60 minutes early each day to, ship your items out. So that's really important. You want to be shipping your items out on time. Don't promise priority and then ship, something slower, because people, when they buy an item, it actually says like the estimated shipping date. So don't try to like cut corners and do stuff like that. If you're going to ship out an item and you do notice that like the item's damaged, you might have missed something or your employee missed something, send the person a message and be like, hey, this actually happened to me the other day with a book that I had purchased through eFlip to sell on Amazon. The person messaged me and said, hey, I know you bought this book that was in good condition, but it has some issues. Do you still want it? Or I could give you a refund. Darren says, can you do some online tax videos? I mean, I could definitely talk about taxes a little bit if you guys have any questions. A lot of people ask, Steve, when you're selling on eBay, do you have to pay taxes? Yes, any income. My mom is like notorious for asking me this. When I helped her start her Merch by Amazon business or Amazon business or eBay, excuse me, not her eBay, Merch by Amazon, Merch by Amazon, her book business. Is there anything else I helped her with? I don't remember, but those are the two. She doesn't do eBay. She always asks me, Steve, do I have to pay taxes? Yes, if you show income or if you create income, you're legally supposed to put it on your taxes. Now, they're not going to know I believe if you don't sell 200 items or do at least 20,000 in sales, you have to meet both of those criteria. You're not going to receive a 1099, which means eBay's not letting the government know. So no one really knows that you're making that income. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be following all the rules, you're supposed to claim any income. Are you going to get caught? Probably not. Is your CPA, or should you tell your CPA, hey, I made this money, but I'm not going to claim it? No. What's the right thing to do? What does the government want you to do? They want you to claim it as income, right? So that's a big question. A lot of people are asking, Steve, do I have to have an LLC if I'm just getting started? Maybe this person as well, they're like, I got 1,000 items. Should I create an LLC? You don't really have to when you're first getting started. It's a limited liability company. It protects you. It's like a cushion between, your business and your personal assets. So if you have any issues that come about and you don't have an LLC, then they could essentially attack you. The big thing with, with taxes is to make sure your books are in line, right? You need to make sure that your books are in line. So whether you have QuickBooks or if you have GoDaddy bookkeeping or if you have, you know, some type of Excel spreadsheet or whatnot, you want to make sure to track your cost of goods. You want to make sure to track, you know, office supplies, education, travel, any big expenses that you have that are going to be depreciated over time, like a computer and a laptop. You've got to not only track your expenses, but you also have to categorize them properly, because each one is going to be treated a little bit differently, and your CPA is going to need to know when you go to sit down with them, what are your expenses and what categories do they fall into? Because because you buy a clothing item doesn't mean you can write it off. It's cost of goods sold. So when you go to write off your inventory at the end of the year, you write off the inventory that has already sold. You can't write off the stuff that hasn't sold already. So at the end of the year, a lot of times your CPA is going to ask you, how many items do you have in your inventory that haven't sold yet? Because they're going to kind of like do their thing with that. I don't know exactly how to explain it. So it's really important to track your expenses and then categorize them properly. And another big tip that I have for you is in terms of like taxes and bookkeeping, when you're buying stuff for your business and you have, so there's two parts that are very important. You have income and you have expenses. You want to make sure that all your income that is coming in is divvied off from your personal. So like if you have people paying you, I don't know, if you have personal income that's coming in versus business, you want to make sure to have like a business checking account, or at least a checking account where all of your business income is going into. The same thing with when you're paying expenses. You don't want to be paying expenses with a single credit card that's handling, you know, all the food that you're buying, just and going out for dinner and restaurants and entertainment and fun. Like, you want to have a credit card just for your expenses. You want to have a credit card just for your personal. So you really want to split off your personal versus your business. That's going to help a lot when it comes to paying taxes and whatnot. But definitely talk to a CPA. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. So I'm just a guy talking about what I'm personally doing. But yeah, you'll get to the point where, like, for example, I pay quarterly taxes. So I pay taxes to the state and to the federal on a quarterly basis. So every 3 months, I'm shelling out a lot of money. Right now, it's what am I paying to the federal? I think I'm paying like $15,000 or $16,000 every quarter to the federal, and to the state, I don't remember. It's like $1,500 or $1,600. But based on your income and your projected income, you essentially put together like a game plan for taxes, so you're not left with like a huge tax bill at the end of the year. But that's my situation. Anyways, that was kind of a long rant. For the person who's watching this video, who I'm answering their question for with the 1,000 items, just start attacking this behemoth of a pile, right? Start listing as much as you possibly can. Start to build out a solid foundation in your business, right? So you want to make sure to get your inventory management system in line, get your shipping in line, get all your supplies, get that eBay listing limit increased as much as possible. So start listing as much as you possibly can, right? That's really, really important. So start listing as much as you possibly can. You'll slowly start to build up your feedback, and before you know it, you're gonna be on fire. You're gonna be making sales on a regular basis. You're gonna be shipping items out every single day. And then you might get to the point where, you know, you can start going buy some more items. But right now, stay out of the thrift stores, stay out of the garage sales. I recently was overwhelmed and created listing templates. Saves tremendous amount of time, then list like items. Exactly. Listing templates are huge. Absolutely huge. If you type in on YouTube, Raiken Profit listing template, there should be a video where you can go in and download my listing template. So Raiken Profit eBay listing template, go YouTube that after. And I believe I have my listing template where I just email it to you. So definitely check that out. First Last says, no thrift stores. Okay. I know too many people who are, how do I say this? They have a humongous death pile, right? They have like 500 to 1,000 items. I have a good friend of mine. He has like 3,000 items he hasn't listed. He keeps going to the thrift store. I'm like, dude, stop. You're addicted. You're literally like a crackhead. Like I'm just saying, like, it's like a freaking drug addiction going to the thrift store. You're like on a high. and you can't stop. And you're like, well, what if I miss out on an item that's worth 50 bucks and I can get it for 5? Like, I'm leaving money on the table. No, you have a million items at your house. List your items up. Yeah, it's almost like a drug addiction / hoarder. It's crazy. And I'm not putting anybody down. That was me when I first got started. I feel like everybody goes through that phase when you first get started where you're just like so addicted. So Anthony says, Raiken, I disagree completely. Well, let me know why you disagree. I'm definitely open for suggestions. The only thing is, like, I get it, like when you buy, like, you're leaving items on the table, and like a lot of these items don't lose value, but I see too many people who get overwhelmed by like having too much inventory and end up quitting because they don't list, their sales are suffering, and they run out of cash. That's the biggest problem. Most people I know who are eBay sellers, they don't have more than $1,000 in a bank account. Most of them don't have more than $200. They're still living paycheck to paycheck. And the reason why, Gabriella, thanks so much. And the reason why is because every time they start to save some money, they just go in and they spend it on new inventory, and they're just stuck in this rat race. So sometimes you have to pull back for a month or two and list those items up, build up that cash reserve. Because I remember when I was still working at the Cracker Barrel five or 6 years ago, once I got that cash reserve up to like $5,000, man, I felt unstoppable. I had options. Anthony says the 300 in inventory, is it good inventory? Will these items lose value? If it's the kind of inventory that will sell, that's why I disagree. You know, to each their own. You've got to know yourself, right? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just giving feedback based on what I've seen. For some people, you could just keep buying. They're going to get around to it, but it just depends on your lifestyle and what you're looking for. So, yeah, I just hate seeing people who, they've got so much potential, and, you know, eBay's supposed to, you know, free you up and give you freedom to an extent, right? Like, if you do eBay the right way, like, you can build up a really nice nest egg. You can go from having $100 in your bank account to 5 to 10,000 in your bank account in a year or so if you're smart. But if you're just spending your money and, you know, you're not being smart, and your death pile's growing, and you're not listing more, and you're not building systems, the year's going to go by and you're going to have the same amount of money in your bank account. You've got to consciously make some of the right decisions, small, correct decisions, right? Like, sometimes you got to just pull back. That's awesome, Anthony. I love that. Anthony's a really smart guy, I can tell. I sell hundreds of varieties of tomato seeds and can ship them. Oh, that's interesting. Your death pile should never exceed the amount of items you could list in 1 week. Ooh, that's a really good rule right there. But I get it. It's really addicting to just buy. I get it. I definitely get it. I need an assistant. How do you pay them, hourly or per item? So I've experimented with both. So I remember the first person that I hired, what I would do, because I still lived at home, I didn't have an office at the time. What I would do is I would bring like 50 clothing items to their house. So I would drive 7 miles across town, and I would drop all of the items at their house. Each item would be inside of a clothing hanger, and it would have an inventory number. So I would drop all the clothing off at their house, and I would drop a big stack of eBay listing templates at their house, right? And again, if you type in Raiken Profit listing template, what's up, Kristen? Into YouTube, you can see the listing template that I gave him and the one that I used. So I would drop it all off, and then I would leave, and I would come back a couple days later, and it would all be photographed, measured, all the listing templates. So I would take the clothing back, and I would take the listing templates back. Then I would take it back home, and I would, you know, list them. In that situation, I would use, I was paying a fixed price. So I'm trying to remember what I was paying. I think I was paying like $1 for short sleeve t-shirts and short sleeve button fronts. And I think I was paying maybe like $1.25 for long sleeves. And then for suits, I was paying like $2 each. And I think for blazers and sport coats was like $1.50, something around there, right? So it came out to probably, he was making like 10 to 15 bucks an hour. If you're not able to supervise, I would go based on the fixed item, fixed price per item. When I ended up getting my office and he ended up coming to my office, we went to an hourly rate. So I don't know if I think I was paying like 10 or 12 bucks an hour. He was a good friend of mine. So, you know, I was paying him a bit more than, you know, a Joe Blow off the street I would pay. But yeah, if you're supervising, you might want to go that route. It really just depends. But, you know, either way, you just got to run the numbers and see what works for you. When starting out, did you pay yourself as you go per day, or did you wait until Friday to give yourself a paycheck? You know, I've never even done that before. Like, I hear a lot of people say, like, you know, I pay myself this and that. I'm really good with money. I'm very conscious. I have a budget. So everything just pretty much goes in my bank account. I don't go out and frivolously. I got it, frivolously. I don't go out and frivolously spend money on crazy things. Besides the Corvette, that was like the one crazy thing that I spent money on, but I paid cash for it, right? Because I had the money and I had plenty of it, so I just bought it. Yeah, but I was just good at budgeting my money. But yeah, I mean, if you are the type that maybe you've been in credit card debt before. See, I've never been in credit card debt. I've always been very responsible with money, even when I didn't have much. What you can do is you can set up different savings accounts within your account, and you can actually have money automatically disperse into those accounts. So you can like do that, or you can go to the bank once a week and kind of pay yourself that way. But I never really did any of that. Still to this day, I've never done that before. And over the last year, actually the last couple of years, you know, my net worth has been growing rapidly. Awesome. First Last says they're subscribing. Good to see you, Flippin' South. So if you guys are enjoying this video, do me a big favor. We got 180 people watching live. Hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. I got Steve's course, followed what brands to buy in his direction. I've been successful selling men's clothing. I'm telling you guys, the information's out there. I have a free online account with Ally and Simply Bank Ally. They're both free of fees. Awesome. That's all you need. You know, don't overthink things, guys. Just go out there and take action. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you all. I got to get running, headed over to the chiropractor. I've been having some back issues and whatnot. So getting adjusted, getting a little bit of back work done. Pumped up. I'm going to the Tony Robbins event, I believe November 7th. I'm going with Jameson Philippi. So you might have seen us actually at the beginning of the year, we went to the one in San Jose. Going again. I'm consistently working on my mind because I know in order for me to take things to the next level, I've got to level up in my mind first. And, you know, I'm consistently educating myself and growing and trying to become the best version of myself. So really excited about that. If anybody wants to go to the Tony Robbins event, I've got a special deal going with one of the Tony Robbins trainers. So if you're looking to go, I can save you a lot of money on VIP seating, which is like, you could get it for even way less than just general admission. So you can send me an email at raikenprofit@gmail.com. There's nothing in it for me. He just told me, listen, if you want to share it with your audience, just let me know and set them up with the trainer. So yeah, congrats. First Last, no debt. But thanks guys for watching. I appreciate you all. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being a part of the Raiken Nation community. And for everyone out there, have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.